and things like that. But, this chef was really great. Like, he's helped me out a lot. And so I did that pop-up, and then I ended up working there at the playground. And it's an interesting place because the chef there, the chef owner, Jason Quinn, he's like, at that time, like, he was just starting out, and like, he didn't have a ton of experience, but he was super hungry for knowledge, and he wanted like good people around him. And not that I was that person, but I had more experience than him at that point. Yeah. But like, all the other chefs did too. Like, they all came from really cool places, and we were all kind of in charge of our own stations. Like, if we wanted to change the menu, like, we could do that. If we wanted to put a dish on the menu, we could do that.
Yeah.
And it was a really cool place to be for my time there. And at that point, I didn't really know what I wanted to do exactly, like where I wanted to be next, but I knew I like wanted to get back into like the similar kitchen that Quince was. And I was thinking about LA, and Tusk was doing a dinner with at Melise. I forgot why. Yeah. But I remember finding out about that, and I called him. I was like, "Hey, I'm in Southern California. Like, can I do this dinner with you?" And he goes, "Yeah, come by. Like, come at this time." And like met him, and we were making pasta for that dinner. And then I met the CDC of Cotogna at that time, and like, because he came down with him, and we're like cooking the dinner, and it was just great to catch up with Tusk and talk about Italy and just like see him again, And I remember him being like, "Well, why don't you just come be a sous chef at Cotogna?" I was like, "What?" I was like, "Are you serious?"
Okay.
And I was like, "All right." Like, I'm not going to tell him no. Like at that point, like, my first time at Quince, like, I spent most of my time on entremet because like I wanted to learn how to cook vegetables every season.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, and then like to get off the station, Tim and Chef Tusk were like, "You have to do a tasting." I was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "Okay." And it was like the worst tasting ever. So like, but but then Tusk like sat me down, and he's like, "Yo, at least you did it. I'm super happy you did it. And like, here, you need to like," he gave me the Chez Panisse book with Paul Bertoli, and he's like, "Read the part where it says like how to write a menu." And like, that was super influential to me too. Like, how do you write a menu? Because like, it was just not a good tasting. It was like this and that, and like all mixed up ideas and things like that, right? So
I get it. Yeah.
Anyway, so when he gave me the opportunity to be a sous chef at Cotogna, I was like, yes, yeah, like I'll do that. And
how long after that did you start at Cotogna?
I think it was like a month after. Like, so I started Cotogna like in November of 2013, I think.
What was the dynamic of you coming in as a sous chef to cooks that have already been there that probably,
Well, it was cool because for me, because of my time at Quince, and because of how much time I spent with Tusk and all those things, like like when I was at Quince, I would also be there on Sundays with Tusk and like learn how to cook things and do Sunday suppers with him. So like I remember doing the Sunday supper with Evan and Sarah Rich when they were just opening up Rich Table, and like learning from Evan, and then like, but then I was working with the cooks at Cotogna where like Tusk.
So they already knew you.
They already knew me.
Yeah.
They already knew me, and they already knew that I knew, or like Tusk was kind of like worked with me like directly. Like,
gotcha. So you had your credentials in order.
Yeah, it wasn't like a crazy. And then also going from Quince to Cotogna, like the dynamic's different, and like the cooks are different, and not the cooks, but like I didn't have to go like be a sous chef of Quince and be like the sous chef of the cooks that like I was elbow to elbow with. You know what I mean?
Heard.
Like,
it's a lot easier to do that.
Yeah, so, at Cotogna it was a little bit different because there was another sous chef who was there, and she was a cook with me at Quince.
Gotcha.
So, like,
you both had each other's back.
Yeah. So it was for me, it was still like an incredible learning experience.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I think, again, it's, and even like kind of saying these stories, it's like, for me, there's just like moments that happen in your life where things all come together, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, being a sous chef at Cotogna, like, honestly, like, it was such a great experience, but like, sometimes I think about like the first cooks I had, and I'm like, damn, I'm sorry. Like, I was not a good manager. I was not a good leader in those aspects. And like, they taught me a lot on how to be that person, right?
For sure.
Like, so much of this guy, Patrick Falwell, who's at my first stage at Quince, like, he was one of my cooks at Cotogna. He was like, he was like the prep cook at that time. He was like, doing all the stuff in the morning.
Yeah.
But I learned so much from him and like how to manage people and talk to people and all those kinds of things. And just in general, all the cooks, I mean, it was like, it was such a good experience in that aspect that I had a platform to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And then also like with Tusk, like, he was so involved, like, and the way Quince and Cotogna connected, like he was just walking up and down the hallway, expediting Cotogna, expediting at Quince, or like doing whatever needed to be done and being heavily involved in services. So like learning from him, like I remember one time the CDC like moved this guy on pasta and maybe he wasn't ready, and like Tusk was like, why, like going through all the things, and it was like taking in all that knowledge and being like, okay, like this is how you need to think about things, like you need to see how everything's going to play out before it happens and things like that.
Gotcha.
So I was there for about a year and a half at Cotogna.
Yeah.
And then, a lot of like what happens in my life too, I just kind of like take opportunities as they come. And like I said, I think that there's some things in life that like are controlled by someone greater than me.
Yeah.
So even during my time at Cotogna, there was, I actually became a private chef too.
Okay.
And I was private chefing for this venture capitalist firm. And it happened randomly. Like a good friend of mine like put me in contact with the personal assistant, and they reached out to me and they're like, hey, we need somebody to cook Monday night dinners and some Monday lunches for our partners. And it was really cool because the partners, like the reason they wanted to do it was because they had read a book about Benjamin Franklin, and he was like, he would have dinner parties with people from all parts of life, all walks of life, to like learn more from them. So that's what they wanted to recreate. So, doing that was really cool. First off, it was like I had a little bit of experience like learning from Tusk and like being a sous chef at Cotogna, but then also like doing the things I did at the playground and all that stuff. So I kind of felt comfortable about writing a menu and like cooking and things like that. And I just remember being like doing the first one. I was like, okay, like doing one is nothing. Being asked back is like the most important thing, right? Like anybody can do something once, but if they ask you to keep on doing it, then like that's super huge.
Yeah.
And these guys, like, I'm not going to say who they were, but it was like they're guys who like invest in restaurants and do all these things. So like for me, I was like, I need to like impress these guys and see where this goes. So, during my time at Cotogna, I was also private chefing. It was only on Monday nights, and like I just pushed really hard and made them happen.
Yeah.
And then I left Cotogna to actually go to In the Wolf in Belgium. So
how'd you get that lined up?
Well, what's really great about being at Quince and Cotogna is like so many people come and stage there that I met this guy.
A lot of contacts.
Yeah. I met this chef David from Canada, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I just came from In the Wolf." I was like, "Dude, I want to stage there so bad." And he's like, "Oh, I'll put you into contact with them." And I got the stage, and I was like,
there you
"Oh,
go.
this is amazing."
How long you stage there?
3 months.
Okay.
Yeah. That and for me again, like, a lot of the way I learn is like I wasn't good at school, like I said, and like I can't read something and comprehend it. Like I need to touch it and go through it. And do it. So, I wanted to go to In the Wolf because like they were doing ferments and they were doing all these like cool things that I wanted to learn, like, ferments, preservations, charcuterie and things like that. And then just the caliber of restaurant it was. And I also knew, because I had a sous chef at Quince who had worked there too. I knew that like staging there wasn't going to be a place where like I was just going to pick herbs.
I got you.
Like I was like,
they're going to put you to work.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I remember like I left Cotogna to do that, and I went there, and I actually went there early, and I got to see their other restaurants too. He had Vitrine and Souprette, and I got to work at those restaurants too.
Very cool.
Yeah, because like a stage left early, and they hit me up. I was already in Europe. I was like traveling around, like going to France and stuff like that. And they're like, "Hey, can you come early?" And I was like, "Sure." And they had a holiday. I was supposed to start after the holiday, but I started a little bit before. And before the holiday, I was learning how to do that cold station. Like I was like doing like at that point they had like this dish called like loons, which was really beautiful too. Like they work with the farmer, this guy Dries, and he was growing these shoots, which I think I saw the garden doing this too for the restaurant at Meadowood. They grow like fennel and Swiss chard and things like that in the moonlight. so they come out like super fluorescent.
Oh yeah.
And they're like
in the darkness.
Yeah. So it was. I remember. Yeah. So I remember doing that dish, and it was like celery root compressed in fermented celery root juice, and you wrap it up, and it looks like a little bouquet and things like that. And so like I'm on their cold station, like the guy, the CDP's there, and like he's about to leave, and like I'm on there. And then I come back from the break, and like I trained the new guy on like, and the new guy was like the sous chef who was taking over, and I trained him on cold station. It was cool, and that's why I went, right? Like I didn't want to go and be like picking like herbs or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like I got to be on the stations, and that again, like that experience was incredible. Like being in that environment was incredible, and you know, there's a lot of crazy times like being in like the village is Dranuter, and there's like nowhere, there's nobody out there, and you just kind of like, you have a lot of great parties in cornfields, and and you know, but also just like meeting new people and meeting you know, chefs from all over the world. It was an incredible experience to have gone through, and like I was there for free, so I would spend all my time working with the head chef at the time was named Rose Green. And she was like crazy in her ferments. Like we were making like beef misos and scallop misos and every kind of like ferment. And it's like, you know, for them it's easy because like they know how to do it.
Yeah.
So like I just spent all my time I could with them. I remember training on pastry, and I chose pastry because like I wanted to learn how to make ice creams and things like that too. But also like I could prep it out where like I was also learning how to do the preservation projects too. Or I was like heavily involved in doing that. So like, because you could be like meat garnish and things like that, but you're like so in the shits that you don't really have time to see what's going on around you.
Whoa.
You know? So it was really cool to do that. And so after my 3 months there, I went back to San Francisco, and I was kind of just like went back into the private chefing for that VC firm. And and that was an incredible experience because it like built, it just kept on building off of each other. So like one partner, I would go to like, you know, I would travel with him and like go to his house in Big Sur or Jackson Hole and cook for them and like meet a lot of great people and just like have an incredible experience. And also like for them, they were like, you have no budget. So like I was like,
yeah, it's the best.
I was like, oh cool. Like, you know, and I can
buy whatever I want.
Yeah, I can buy whatever I want. And I can also teach myself how to cook things.
Yeah.
And I can also like keep up the relationships I had with farmers and like use them and keep on like not have to worry about it. I mean, like I wasn't like wasteful or anything, but it was just like, you know, this guy gave you free reign, and they loved food. They didn't have crazy allergies or any of those things. So it was such a cool experience because then it like even I spent most of my time doing that private chefing thing, and like I would help out other restaurants like do mercenary shifts and stuff like that. But you know, doing that, like I also like one other partner had a winery, so I did 2 harvests with them. I was their private chef 2 years in a row during their harvest, and it was cool to be able to like be in the winery while they're like picking and sorting and fermenting and things like that.
Great,
yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I just try to take like, I mean, these opportunities. Like, I just try not to say no, right? Like, there's things that you have to weigh out.
Yes to literally everything.
Yeah, there's things you have to weigh out for sure. I mean, like, my goal is always to like get better and always like. I mean, I think for me, my goal is to have my own like restaurant group, right? Like, everybody wants to. I don't know if everybody does, but at least for me, that's where I wanted to be. So, like, that was also, like, why I chose each job, right? There was things that they were gonna give me that allowed me to move forward or allowed me to reach that goal. Like, I'm putting together knowledge and my style together to get me there. And, you know, so I'm doing the private chefing thing, and then I just started to be like, well, I want to get back into kitchens, right? And at that point, like, not to say that, like, those people I was cooking for were going to invest in me and throw me all this money. I was like, but at that point, like, I was still really young. I think I was like 26 at the time. And I was like, well, I'm not ready to open up a restaurant, because anybody can open up a restaurant. Like, I could open up one tomorrow and it's fine. But my goal is to open up a successful business, you know, like something that's going to sustain.
100%.
So there was still so much I wanted to learn. And, you know, between like doing the private chefing and like kind of mercenary shifts, I ended up doing another stint with Tusk, like not with the intention of working with him again, like long term, but he was like, hey, I don't have a CDC. we're in the process of like getting this guy because he was like moving from New York. He goes, can you help us out for a little bit? I was like, yeah, of course.